Okay, so I have a review for you today on this Samsung range, and I will also show you how to fix just one of the problems it had in case you too have a crappy range. So this is what is called a useless work of art. It's beautiful to look at, but that's its shell. Inside, it's a complete and total piece of crap. So look at this. It's just a little beauty, isn't it? And it can do all kinds of these neat little functions that I'll show you all that later, but it's got tons of options that make you think it's gonna be just this wonderful, beautiful range. I mean, you go through all these and then it even has more options. Oh, self-cleaning, that thing actually worked really well. Like, I had a mess in it and turned the self-clean on for only 2 hours and it had all vanished, like as if nothing was ever there. There weren't even ashes in it. So see, just all these things I never use. The only thing I ever use is bake. I tried to use a convection roast for some artichokes and they came out kind of burned. I'm not sure if they would have came out burned if I used bake too, but I don't really know the difference between these two. And I have tried convection bake, convection roast, and then bake. Like, who knows even what the difference is? And then this air fry thing. Okay, so I tried to use that a few times, and then here's what happens. This is the tray that you put the air fry on. I mean the food you want to air fry. And then you have to put it on the rack in the oven, and the food just sticks to that tray and you cannot get it off. That's why it looks so dirty. I could not do anything to get those stains off and get the food off. It was horrible. So I just try not to use that now. And so yeah, that's a beautiful range. And then, like, if you want to clean it all without being in any danger of any of the burners turning on, then you have this. Let me see. Oh, you just push that to lock it. And see, you can't accidentally lean against it because you have to actually go over here and then press this thing for 3 seconds to unlock it. See? So that is another good thing about it. But starting off, first of all, now if I get any crumbs or splatters of grease on this control panel, it is virtually impossible. It is so hard to get clean because look, the crumbs, they'll go behind this little knob and there's no way to get them out. And then there's no way to, like, my finger, like my pinky finger isn't even small enough when I have a towel on top of it. So, like, if I'm trying to, I have to go like this. Like, it's really hard. You have to go like that. It's super annoying to try to clean this thing, this control panel. And the reason I love this control panel is because it's glass. So I figure it's not going to scratch. It's always going to look beautiful. And yes, it will always look beautiful, just as this whole thing looks beautiful, but is completely a useless piece of junk. So when I had my Amana, you could actually pull the knob off completely, and then you could clean around it, and you could take the knob over the sink and clean it. These are totally stuck on, so it's just really poor thinking that, I guess, that went into how to make this range. It just makes no sense. So the other issue is I was trying to cook 2 heavy sheet trays of chicken thighs, and so here's what I did. See these 2 trays? I filled up both of these trays. Both were completely full with chicken thighs. And when the timer went off, I opened the oven, not expecting to have any issue whatsoever, because remember, I came from an Amana good quality oven. And I had on one, here, this is what I had. So I have this mitt, I had on this oven mitt right here. That's Pooh Bear. He wants some treats because he's decided that all he wants to eat now are treats and not real food. And my vet told me to start feeding them treats because they weren't eating enough food and were losing too much weight. And I said I never fed them treats before because I was afraid they wouldn't eat their real food. And she told me to start feeding them treats. So now that's all he wants are treats. And you'll probably hear him a lot here. But I go to grab the hot tray of grease and chicken, and then look, I pull it out like this, and on my other hand I don't have an oven mitt, so there's nothing I can do to get my other hand to help me, and I'm pulling it out like this. And these racks are also very poor quality, very very cheap thin metal. It's super poor quality. This damn this damn rack wasn't built to handle the weight of a pan this size that has chicken thighs and grease on it. So I go to pull it out, and you look at that little indentation right there. Well, so when it goes over that indentation, see, look, the pan, it starts to tilt back. See? It was like tilted. And I'm like, oh shit, like now what do I do? I thought if I couldn't grab another mitt anywhere. I have another mitt. It's all the way over here on my, my little toaster oven. That's the one I had, but it was too far for me to grab. So I thought, okay, either I'm gonna have to see. Already this is too tilted. If it was in the situation I was in, if I had it tilted that much, the grease and the chicken would have been sliding off the back like that. And so I thought, okay, either I'm gonna have to spill all this grease and everything on the oven and splash it on myself or something, or I'm just gonna have to try with one try to get this thing to push back in straight. And I just got lucky, so lucky, and it pushed back in straight. So the one thing I learned about this piece of shit oven is that you cannot ever pull this tray out with something on it. Instead, you have to always make sure that you have both hands with mitts to be able to actually pull the thing out itself. These trays will not allow you to do that without tilting. Okay, so that's super dangerous. And the second issue is it doesn't push all the way back to the wall because of however its connections are made. They hit the gas line in the back. Look how stupid that looks. So then what I do just for decor purposes is I take this cutting board and I just always lay it back there because it helps for decor purposes to take, so that you take your notice off the problem with the huge gap in the back. But then what happens is when I try to bake anything, and as soon as I turn, okay, this little guy, I'm gonna have to give him some treats because he is crying. He really likes these treats, but he likes all treats. Look, he starts purring as soon as he knows the treats are coming out. Okay, come on. Come here. Come on. But he'll eat those and he's gonna start crying again pretty soon. But as soon as I turn this oven on, the heat, it just starts pouring out of these vents in the back. And I called Lowe's when I first got this because I said there's got to be something wrong. The amount of heat coming out there can't be right. And they told me that that was just a glitch with this particular oven, and if that's how they were made. So it is probably for sure damaging this wall behind it, or I know for sure it's damaging under my microwave, and like my lights here are starting to melt. And so what I do is this fan is really dinky, but I just turn it on like that, and then the air comes out, and I'm hoping it helps it cool a little bit, but it doesn't actually do that good of a job. So I just need to buy a much better fan for it because it has no cooling feature. It is just pure heat coming out of here, it's as if I have the oven door open and it's all coming out the back here. So many times I accidentally left this wooden cutting board on the back, and I am so surprised it hasn't caught fire yet. And I just keep forgetting. I'm trying to be better about remembering not to put it there. Well, actually, I didn't have it there. I had it on my wall now because I stopped putting it there. But it just looks so stupid with that big gap. Anyway, the third issue is that my Amana came with these side protectors that were built in. They were actually built onto the actual beautiful range top. And so this one didn't come with any kind of protection whatsoever, and crap just falls between these cracks. There's that crack, and then that crack, and you see the gaps here are different sizes. There's a big gap, there's virtually no gap. Well, the flooring guys weren't able to make the gaps equal on each side because of whatever the connections are in the back. They couldn't move, like they couldn't move it over to the right to give me an equal gap on this side that equals that gap. So then what I had to do is I had to go online and buy these side protectors, and all side protectors are pretty much rated very poor. So I wasn't expecting anything outstanding when I got these, and they're definitely not outstanding and they don't fit. But I guess it's better than nothing. But see, look, it's just, I don't, like, how is that gonna help? How is that gonna help? I guess it could help, but it's, see, there's just, I don't know if it's gonna help or not, because it could still come from the side and go in there, but like there's no tight fit at all. So I put this one, and then so like this one looks like a better fit, but look, it's still not good at all. Like, how stupid does that look? How very poor quality. And then look, this one doesn't even fit in it at all. It's totally sticking up. Okay, so fourth issue is the build quality on this. Complete crap. Okay, so I'm going to show you the first example. Well, this will be the second example. My first example was when I showed you the flimsy racks. So take a look at this. And look at that screw. It's like sticking up and crooked. I don't know if you can see, but I mean, look. Okay, here's another ridiculous thing. Like, there's all these crumbs and stuff in there, and you can't clean this good to get them out. The Amana was totally sealed off. Like, you couldn't just drop stuff in between its inner workings like this, and you would never ever see, you didn't even see exposed screws like this, much less ones that were installed crooked. Okay, so fifth issue, well, I'll at least have this off, I could show you, is that this stainless steel top here stains extremely easily, and there aren't any options to get it clean. So I first tried stainless steel cleaner, that didn't work, and then I tried one of those sponges that claim they don't scratch. Well, guess what? They scratch. There you go. And then I tried this stuff called the Barkeeper's Friend Cleaner, thinking that it would be more gentle. So I'll show you where that happened, because that just happened today actually. Let me put this thing back together. And I'm going to be explaining to you why I have this cover on it too at the end, but here is the other one. I just did this today. See these little white stains? I think that came from, I'd always had to put tinfoil cover over this top to try to keep it from getting so dirty since it can't be cleaned. And I don't know if things just got, well, no, I don't think anything got trapped under there, because when I took the tinfoil off, there wasn't any food in these areas that have these spots. So I don't know what those are from. Maybe condensation or something getting trapped between the tinfoil and the stainless steel. I don't really know, but look, so I tried to take the Barkeeper's Friend Gentle Scrub stuff. That works totally fine in my stainless steel sink, and it doesn't scratch it one bit. But this thing, yeah, it scratched like a you know what. So that is the that's the fifth issue. And then so eventually I started cutting out templates of foil. It would take me like two or three templates of foil, and I have to cut around each burner to make it fit. And then that's what I was laying on here to try to keep it clean, since it's impossible to clean and without scratching it. And so that was a pain, but then it also made this, my new beautiful art piece, look like complete crap. I mean, if I have an art piece that's only good for looking like art, and then I make it look like crap, then what good is it at all other than an expensive paperweight? And that's what this basically is. This thing is definitely a paperweight. I mean, if I were to tell you how much it acts like it's worth, it acts like it's worth about $200 at the most. So they just put some fancy lights underneath it, like, you know, fancy lights, and you have nice blue light. You can tell that it's on. You have fancy menu that is useless because you don't use any of those features. And then when you try, like the air fryer, they don't work. And anyway, so the sixth issue is that besides the really poor quality of the stainless steel that you can't clean without damaging the top, the burner tops are these really cheap thin plates. So look at this thing, it's so cheap and so thin. My Amana had burner tops that were, they were probably 4 or 5 times as thick and super heavy, and they just went directly on top. Instead, this, you put that on there, and then, I don't know what this thing is. It feels like plastic. It's either plastic or some kind of cheap, really lightweight metal of some kind. But that's what this is, and for some reason they built it so you have to put that on, and you can only fit it in between. You have to get it just right, because if you don't get it just right, then what happens, you see how hard it is to put on? Really hard to get it just perfect. Even if you have it just slightly off, or even if you have this thing slightly off, like this thing's really hard to get on perfect too. But you have to get it on perfect, because if you don't, you will have the scare of your life when you, and I'm always scared just to even turn this thing on at all, but you push in to try to turn this on and it starts clicking like it's igniting, only it's not igniting, it just keeps clicking. And so then it must have, it builds up so much gas that all of a sudden it'll go boom, and like this big old flame will come out and almost hit you. So it terrifies you, and you're kind of afraid to cook anything because you never know when it's going to do it. It doesn't always do it, but then every once in a while it'll get you. And it got me today. It got me today when it hadn't done it for months, and then it just got me again. So the other thing is that they're also, and then these little burner tops also, they also stain. See how easy, see that little stain? And you can't scrub it off with steel wool or anything. Once it's there, it just stays. So there you go. And then the 7th issue is that, so this is a special burner. It's meant for a wok. It has flames that come out in 2 rings, and then, so let me show you, which, oh God, this one always scares me too, because if this one comes out like, whoom, it'll come out even further and stronger. Oh, this oven scares me to death. And then you have to try, it's hard to remember which one's which, like the little dots. You have to, okay, which is which? Like I get confused with these ones too. See? Okay, here we go. I'm gonna hope, I better make sure everything's on real tight before I try to turn it on. Actually, while I get up, I'm gonna take a few moments to get up my courage by putting my grates back on. So, actually I can now discuss another issue, which is these racks are super poor quality, cheap material. Like, just look how thin that is. And not only that, they too stain and are impossible to get clean. And you can see right here that it looks like now some of the black color is even starting to fade off in spots. And by the way, this range is less than a year old. I want to say maybe 6 months or less even since I got it, and it's already showing all these signs of wear. It's horrible. It is absolutely horrible. And so the color's starting to fade, probably because it's not even real cast iron. I don't know. But again, compared to my Amana, that thing had thick, heavy grates that were still black and stain-free after 17 years. So you can already tell by just the way that looks that these are not going to last very long at all. So I'm going to put all these back on so I could show you something else. Okay, 1, 2, 3. We have to get my courage to turn this on. Let me open the window just to try to stall a little bit more and get up some courage. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay, there we go. Now, look at that. It's not like the flame isn't going around to all the little holes. It's there, and because the flame isn't burning all the correct pathways, there's gas that's coming out that's not being burned up. So this would be a super dangerous burner to use, and I'll show you the other one that's really dangerous. And so, but if you were a person that likes to cook with woks, you would probably be a person that would love this range, because it comes with this little contraption that you can put over it, and then that way you can use a wok that has a round bottom on it and it won't wobble. So there you go. Actually, since this is an art piece, I think I'll just keep that out to show off its artistic talents. And then this one is another huge problem. Normally, when I turn on the burner for this, there will be 3 flames that come out this side, and then all the rest of the way around it, there are no flames whatsoever. So after a while, you start to smell gas, because all the gas is coming out all around the rest of the side of it that isn't being eaten up with the flame. So that's why I don't use it. But I've been trying, like, I don't really turn this on very much. The only time I try to turn it on is when I take these plates off to clean them, because I don't know if you guys know this, but if you have these kind of cast iron plates that can rust, you should always turn all your burners on after you've washed the plates to make sure that you've dried all the water out of them. Otherwise they can rust. So that's the only time I try to turn this on, is to dry the water out of it. And whenever I've done that, yeah, only 3 flames come out. But as I was thinking, I'm gonna try to show you guys this video today, I tested this burner and I was actually able to get all the flames to come out for once. So let me see if I can get it to work again. So it's always, this is how I get confused which one it is, I think. Okay, it's this one. Oh, see? Okay, that has never happened. Look at that. That is amazing. Never gotten it to work like that. So that's what it's supposed to do. And then they have this little, I had to put the phone down because this thing's super heavy and I needed 2 hands. See, they have this grate that you're supposed to, well, I guess I need 2 hands to be able to put it back on there like that. But I guess you're supposed to be able to cook stuff on this grate with that burner. But I had never tried, first of all, because I could never get all those flames to come out the side like it is now. And I have no idea why it's decided to finally start working. But the other thing is that I read in the reviews that this grate is actually impossible to get clean. So that's the other reason I don't really bother with it. But okay, I'm gonna have to put the phone down again because I have to take this grate off to show you something else. And oh, and then, so like I said, what I was saying about this burner is that normally most people will cook with, they usually prefer to cook, I mean, I'm talking right-handed people, they usually prefer to cook on the right front burner. But why would they put a burner like this that most people would never use on the right front, which is the location of the burner that most people prefer to use? And you see how super flaming hot it gets. Like, you can't use a flame like that for anything, really. completely useless unless you do want to do or wok cooking. And then they have this super crappy little simmer burner that does nothing. I don't know what anyone would want to use that for. And then they have this this medium-sized burner, which I'm assuming it must have been intended to be the all-purpose burner you should be using, but it too is useless because it's in an awkward position in the very back on the left. And I mean, why not put this one on the front right position? You know, I mean, well, at least on the front left position. Yeah, I prefer it on the right, but if you're gonna screw up and put something like that on the right, then come on, at least put this one in the front. I mean, I don't see what other wrong thing they could have done to construct this range the way they did. There was like, nobody put any thought into it whatsoever. Or else maybe they're just young people who eat out all the time and never have to cook. They're probably the ones that created this range. That's what I figure. And so anyway, so I was thinking that this burner's the one that's for general all-purpose, and it should be somewhere in the front, but it's not. But you can't you also can't cook on this one back here, because even on my Amana, I never use the burners in the back because the heat comes up and it hits underneath my microwave, and it's starting to ruin it. I mean, like, this oven isn't the only one responsible for melting my lights. My Amana was probably partially responsible for this too, but it's from trying to use the back burners, and then there's more heat that's coming up directly on it. So anyway, they have so that's why I can't use that one even at all, because it creates too much heat hitting the underside of the microwave plus the wall behind it. So then I think, okay, this one is my only choice left, and so it's the one I use for everything. But then the problem with this one is that it, like I said, it comes out and explodes on you if you don't have these little things set on there perfectly, and it's probably gonna blow up on me someday. But I think anyway, the problem with it is that it gets way too hot, and so it's hard to gauge the temperature you need. So like, if you try to fry an egg on medium, it acts as if you chose a level that's one notch above a medium high on any other normal burner, and then it starts to overcook. So you can't cook anything on it that needs low heat, because even the lowest setting is more like a medium or a medium low setting. And then so I think that the biggest mistake I made was getting rid of that old Amana, as I thought for sure there would be a better range out by now. But boy, was I mistaken. And even worse, Amana doesn't make slide-in gas ranges anymore either. I can't remember, but I don't think that they even make ranges as far as I remember. And maybe it was just not slide-in, but I don't think they make ranges even. They make washers and dryers now, and I was told by the salesperson at Lowe's that they're not good quality washers and dryers. So they did really good with ovens, but I don't know why they gave that up. It's just pretty horrible, sad situation. And when I say slide-in, what slide-in range means is that it doesn't have that part in the back that sticks up. And so I was very aware when I purchased this that it did have poor reviews, and I had made a post for you all about it, stating that all the ranges had poor reviews. And what I meant was that all the slide-in ranges had poor reviews. And so I was left to choose the lesser of all evils, and that was this one. I knew that they all had problems with them, and I just had to figure out what, I think that's why I chose this one, is because I figured, well, they all suck. They all have all kinds of horrible problems about them, and I don't really want any of those problems. But the saving grace on this one is that it's got this glass control panel that isn't going to scratch. Like all the rest of them had plastic, and you know how plastic starts to look dull and scratchy after a while. So that it was a glass control panel, and then on top of that, when it was time for my range to be delivered, Lowe's ended up losing the whole thing, and they couldn't find it. I had waited like 3 or 4 months for that thing to come in, and when it came in, they actually lost it, if you could believe that. And so they, for an apology, told me that I could have this upgraded model for the same price as the model that was a lesser model than this. It was exactly the same model, like it was a Samsung, it was same model and stuff, but it's just that this one was a newer model that was, it was maybe like $500 more, and they gave it to me for no extra charge to apologize for losing the original one. So and I got rid of the Amana, by the way, because the control panel went out, and at the time, and when the control panel went out, the oven stopped working. So then for years, I actually only used the stovetop, and then I would use this to cook everything in. And it actually wasn't that bad, because I noticed that I actually still use that to cook everything in, and I don't use the oven on this one because I'm scared of what the rack did to me that one day. And so I guess I really should have kept the Amana, but anyway, I had a home warranty company who tried to fix it, but they couldn't because the control panel on it was no longer manufactured. And I could have, however, found one on eBay, and Somei, my brother's friend, found one for me, but it was white and I wanted it to be black to match the old one. But also I wondered, what if I spend money to get it installed and it not only looks crazy because it's white, but can you imagine the front of my Amana was black like this, and it still looked really nice for being 17 years old. So in this section, it would have had a white control panel, and that's what I didn't really want. But on top of that, I just wondered, but what if I spend the money to get that white control panel installed, and not only does it look crazy because it's white, but what if it also doesn't even fix the problem of why the oven doesn't work? So that's another reason I decided to get rid of the Amana. And damn, that was a really good quality range though. And then I had absolutely no idea that they just don't make ranges of that quality anymore. And so fast forward to when it came time for me to choose another, and the home warranty they said they'd pay for a slide-in type. So that's the only one I wanted to look at, because not only do I prefer the way they look without the back sticking up, but also they cost a lot more. And so I figured, why would I let the home warranty company get away without paying me the full cost of what they're willing to pay? And then they also wouldn't give me a refund of the difference had I chosen the other slide-ins that also had a ton wrong with them in the reviews. So that they wouldn't have given me a refund of the difference if I had chosen a cheaper range that had a back on it. So but the ones so all the slide-ins basically did have a lot of bad reviews, but I noticed that the ones that had backs on them, which I didn't even actually start looking at the ones that had backs on them until after I already had this one, just out of curiosity to see if they were better. And they are better because you have a much larger selection to choose from, and when you're choosing from a larger selection, there's more of a chance that you'll get ones with better reviews too, because you have so many more to choose from. But I would have definitely chosen one that had a back on it because there were so many to choose from, and then I'm thinking I probably would have been able to get a good one. So back to the beginning of this rant now, which was the problem with the stainless top staining, is what I was going to show you is that this is what I'm going to tell you about now. Like I said, I'd started cutting out templates of foil, and then I'd always just have to throw them away when they got dirty, and then I'd have to cut out a new set, and it was becoming a real pain. I realized I could just buy an oven liner, and then I could make a template out of it that I could remove and wash and put back, and then I wouldn't have to keep on recutting new pieces of tinfoil. So that's what I've done here, and that's why you saw me, like why I lifted up, that's why, because this is the template of my template that I created. But hopefully that'll be a good solution, and then this is just what I wanted to tell you that I've solved now as one problem of this complete disaster of an excuse for a range. I'd highly recommend that you stay away from this range because it will suck you in with its looks, and I get so many compliments on it, but I just keep quiet because look how long it would take me to explain why its beauty is only skin deep. So buyers beware.